Welcome to another Top 10 video. This time it's with serial killers who were never caught. But before we get to that, we would like to take a moment to thank you guys for being amazing and getting us to where we are today. Without you, none of this would be possible. We would also like to thank our patrons, Justin Rosato and Lucy Pasley. Because of them, we are able to push our channel a little bit more. If you would like to help our channel grow more so that we can pump out more content, consider becoming our Children of Darkness over on Patreon. Link is in the description below. And now, onto the slaughter for the 10 serial killers that were never caught. The Babysitter. Going to start off by stating that this was definitely a serial killer that I had never heard of, personally, until the making of this video. In Oakland County, Michigan, lived a child murderer, better known as the Babysitter. As far as anyone is aware, the Babysitter is a killer who murdered 4 children and yet was never identified. The infamous serial killer killed between 1976 and 1977. They had received the nickname due to the fact that the victims were bathed first, to which some believe was sick parently instinct. Police did a thorough search into this case after it was clear as day that the targeted victims were all children. What made this one any parent's nightmare was that these innocent children were clothed and washed as they were kept alive for 4 to 19 days. Sadly, not enough leads have helped investigators find the killer, and the case is still open. Highway of Tears Killer. Despite the fact that the U.S. has the reputation of being the serial killer capital of the world, this story takes us to our neighbors up north, none other than Canada. Between 1969 and 2011, 40 or more Indigenous women were murdered in British Columbia, which is a 450-mile, 720-kilometer stretch of High 16 between Prince George and Prince Rupert. Due to the fact that the murders happened within a 50-year span, it's believed that it's actually multiple murderers that targeted the victims. The biggest proof was after capturing Bobby Fowler, who died in prison in 2016. Investigators quickly realized that there was no way for Bobby to have killed that many people on his own. Hence, the hunt still goes on for the remaining killers that may very well be at large. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby had help from a few friends with the same mindset. Bible John. Leaving North America altogether and traveling to Scotland is the infamous serial killer named Bible John. He was given this name for his many Bible quotes that he had used in front of Jean. Jean, Helen's sister, was the only key witness to what the man could have looked like because she rode in a taxi with Helen Puttock and Bible John. Unfortunately, it seemed that Jean left Helen with the suspect, as it would be the last time Jean would see Helen alive. Bible John's victims were Helen Puttock, who was only 29, Patricia Docker, age 25, and Jemima McDonald, age 32. The only thing that the victims truly had in common was that they all met the suspect at a Glasgow club. The case had been going on for well over 40 years. Unfortunately, Jean passed away in 2010. The Alphabet Killer. Returning back to the U.S., more specifically Rochester, New York, in the 1970s is the infamous Alphabet Killer. The name stems from the fact that the suspect's victims were all young girls who had alliterative first and last names. Each victim was defiled and strangled. There were many promising leads, but none led to an arrest of any kind. One being Joseph Nasso, who matched the M.O., as he had done that to several victims in California. Unfortunately, his DNA at the crime scene didn't match. However, Joseph Nasso was sentenced to death in 2013. Personal theory is that he made sure not to leave his DNA at the crime scene, but that's just my guess. If you have any thoughts on the topic, share it in the comments. We would love to hear it. Charlie Chopoff. Yet another serial killer in New York, but this time in Manhattan, is the infamous Charlie Chopoff. Given the name because the suspect would mutilate the genitals off of male child victims. Just like the Alphabet Killer, Chopoff committed their murders in the 1970s as well. The suspect had killed 4 boys in this gruesome manner and attempted a 5th. Erno Soto was the #1 suspect in the murders, especially after confessing to killing 8-year-old Stephen Cropper. However, because he was a on and off mental patient at Manhattan State Hospital and displayed that he was unfit to stand trial, they could not completely link him to the murders of those innocent kids. However, The murder stopped after his arrest. Servant Girl Annihilator. Traveling to Austin, Texas in the 1800s is the Servant Girl Annihilator. The suspect was given a nickname because the victims were all servant girls. However, there was one male victim. Each victim was attacked in their sleep and then dragged outside to be murdered. According to the New York Times, 400 suspects were arrested over the course of a year. Nathan Elgin was the prime suspect, but it could not be confirmed because he was shot and killed by the police after he had killed a woman with a knife. Needless to say, for anyone knows, the Servant Girl Annihilator could have lived the rest of his life out and no one would have ever known. Long Island Killer. Traveling back to New York for one of the most recent serial killers is the Long Island Killer who, as far as authorities are aware, has been killing since 1996 with a death count between 10 to 17 people in the Long Island region. Authorities have very little information on the suspect as of the time of this recording. What little information they were able to gain was that he's a white male between 20 to 40 years old and has law enforcement knowledge and technique, which is suspected to be the reason why they have yet to catch him. The Doodler. Killing people of the gay community from January 1974 to September 1975. This sick piece of filth got his nickname after practicing sketches of the male victims before having intercourse with them and then stabbing them to death. Unfortunately, because of the time period in which no one wanted to be outed as homosexual by law enforcement, 6 to 14 victims lost their lives, and others that survived were injured. Since no one wanted to be outed as a homosexual, no one wanted to come forward with information that could have led to an arrest and could have saved lives. The Zodiac Killer. Since 1969, there have been a total of 37 connected murders to the Zodiac Killer, but only 5 have ever been confirmed to be the work of the infamous U.S. serial killer, the Zodiac Killer. There have been numerous suspects over the years, but unfortunately, much like number 1 on our list, it doesn't look like this is going to be a case that will be solved any time in this century. Jack the Ripper. What list of infamous serial killers would be complete without London's most famous serial killer, Jack the Ripper? Often credited for the Western culture's fascination with serial killers, the Ripper was responsible for the death of 5 women in 1888's Whitechapel district of London, England. There are well over 100 theories as to who Jack the Ripper was, but to this day, his identity has never been discovered. It's to the point where he's been used in works of fiction such as From Hell.
And that was 10 infamous serial killers that were never caught. For more content like this, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. To further help to give you guys more content, please consider following our Patreon link in the description below. And with that, remember, we're always watching.